Good morning, and welcome to the Lone Star Weekly Business Hour. Your host, Rick Schissler, is a Silver Fox advisor who personally has over 40 years of experience as a serial entrepreneur. So sit back, pull out your pad and pencil, and get ready to take notes as we join Rick Schissler in his Lone Star Weekly Business Hour.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us for this edition of the Weekly Business Hour. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. We have a great show lined up for you today. We'll start with our thought of the week, how to get the most out of an introduction, then a quick check-in with Dick on the business of Lone Star. And I'm pleased to announce that John Martin with Thrivent is in the studio as our special guest. We will finish out today's program with several news items, some tips and ideas I hope you can use to improve your business. So sit back, get ready, pull out your pen and pad, and let's get started with today's show. First, though, let me remind you that if you have a thought or a question during the show or after the show and want to reach out to me, please do so through email. My email here at the station is rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. Please let me know what you're thinking. And again, if you have a general business question, I'll be glad to respond to you. Well, let's start with our thought for the week, how to get the most out of an introduction. Let's think back in the last couple days and think about when you were introduced to somebody. If that took place over the weekend, perhaps at church on Sunday, perhaps on Saturday when you're out and about, but we're always being introduced to people. We're always being introduced to new things, but I want to focus primarily today on a business introduction. In other words, you're introduced to someone at a business gathering, or it could be someone walks in your store and you meet them. Your introduction takes place. Who, when, and where? When did you meet? Who did you meet? Think about that just for a moment with me, because the setting and when you meet someone, who you meet is important, because many times, I've been guilty of it myself, we meet people and then we walk away and we forget who they were. And the opportunity to build a relationship gets lost. And in a business environment, this is really a sin that there is no salvation from, in my opinion, unless you just completely change your life and start making the most out of your introductions. The first thing I do when I get an introduction to someone in business, and I like who they are, just that brief, cover of the book thing, feel comfortable with them, then I will take their business card if it's offered to me or get their name, and I'll try to check them out. I'll go on social media, on the internet, and see if there's a possibility of a connection. The idea that I have something to offer them or they have something to offer me, maybe we have some common interest, and if I feel there is, then I definitely reach out and try to follow up. And I think that's the next step. If there's a fit, what kind of follow-up? Do I make a phone call? Not many people do that anymore, at least on an initial introduction. Do I send an email? I will tell you, there's been occasions, in fact, one just last week where I met somebody, and they sent me a wonderful email. Wonderful, by that I mean an email that caught my attention. Not only did it say, hey, great to meet you, but it went into, in a short 3 or 4 sentences, made me feel like that relationship was something worth following up on, which I did. I turned around and immediately replied to the email, invited them to have coffee, and got to know them a little bit better. And lo and behold, we already found they knew somebody that I needed for someone I knew to help them in a business transaction. So we already have our relationship turning around second base, so to speak, if you're a baseball aficionado. And that's what's important, to build those connections. Remember, building relationships piece by piece is one of the keys to building a strong business. So don't forget, when you meet someone, don't forget who you met. Take an interest, follow up, and see if there is a fit so you can build a good, strong business for you and your family. You're in the right place if you're a business owner, manager, or you're considering starting your own business, because the Weekly Business Hour is where Montgomery County comes to talk about the latest in business news, ideas to improve your business, and to hear from some of our own local business leaders on how they found success right here in Montgomery County. First, I want to remind you that you can email me again at rick@irlonestar.com. And if you enjoy the show, I would appreciate it if you go to our Facebook page, The Weekly Business Hour, and like us. Every show is posted. The podcast is posted usually 2 to 3 days later after the live show. You can always listen to them at your leisure. Now let's check on business right here at Lone Star. Dick, what's on tap for Lone Star for the coming week?
I want to let people know that tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. a new show will be starting, Veterans Air. We'll be focusing on local veterans things going on around Montgomery County area. And your host, Douglas Barrow, will have different guests. And it's going to be on the first Tuesday of the month at 1 p.m. So I encourage everyone to mark their calendars for that. And, of course, they will be on podcast and YouTube following the live broadcast on 1 p.m. on the first Tuesday of the month with Veterans Hour.
I encourage everybody. I know a little bit about that show. If you're a veteran of any branch of the service and you want to stay in touch with what's going on with veterans, particularly if you need any kind of services or someone you know needs any kind of services, this show is going to be a great resource, I believe, to educate our veteran community, the families of veterans, of what's going on and what's available to assist veterans who are in need. So encourage you to listen into the show either live or on the podcast. Well, we're to my favorite part of the show now that we've got all that preliminary out of the way, and that is talking to a studio guest. Today I'm so pleased to welcome John Martin of Thrivent to the studio. John, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate the invite, and I'm glad I'm here.
Well, John's got an interesting story he's going to share with us about the company he works for. But before we jump into that, John, give us a little bit of background, your business background.
Sure. If you don't mind, one of the things that I have to do, it's a compliance thing. I have to make sure that I get my disclosures out there. But I have to tell the listeners that I'm a licensed agent of Thrivent Financial and a registered representative of Thrivent Investment Management. And if they want more information, they need to go to thrivent.com/disclosures.
Now that we're fully disclosed, let's disclose who is John Martin.
Yeah. So I have been in the financial service industry for about 30 years. Wasn't always going to be that way. At one time, I thought I was going to be a chef and had planned to go into the culinary arts. Shortly after being in the business for about 10 years, I was encouraged to get into management. And after doing that, I saw that was going to be a dead end. The managers were making great money, but it was a very hard and long career opportunity, and I thought there's got to be a better way to do this. So I started taking business classes, and I've got to give a plug to Dr. Riley, who was on your show a couple weeks ago, I think. The question came up about community colleges, and I just had to say that both myself and my oldest son, who's 26, are both products of the community colleges for different reasons. One, I didn't have the money, and my parents weren't able to save for me, so I had to pay for my way for my first couple of years till I was able to finish at a 4-year school. My son didn't know what he wanted to do. We had saved for him, so he had the money, but he didn't want to spend it on a 4-year school until he'd kind of figured out where he was going to be. And now he's in Spain studying for his master's in engineering, and we are really proud of the boys. So I think for those young kids out there that aren't sure what they want to do or don't have the funds, they definitely need to look at a community college as an option there. So I got into the business accidentally. I was at one point looking, while I was taking these classes, looking for a job, and noticed in a want ad that there was a location about 2 blocks from where I was sitting in my car. That's back in the day when you used to go through the paper and circle the want ads. And noticed about 2 blocks from where my car was parked, there was a place looking for customer service reps to talk on the phone. So I went, took filled out the application. They called me back, and 10 years later, I was working for a mutual fund company. And at the time, I couldn't tell you what a mutual fund was, let alone spell it. But it was one of the greatest accidents that ever happened in my career. And by the time I'd been through that experience, I knew that I wanted to spend the rest of my life in financial services. So.
Well, that's interesting. You've got a long career, obviously, and you were well prepared in working 30 years in the industry. So how did you originally connect with Thrivent?
Well, it's kind of funny. I've been with Thrivent for about 1.5 years, and prior to that, I was running a small business. Some could probably define it as a micro business, with a colleague of mine who was, I was based here in Conroe, he was based in Columbus, Ohio. And we focused on products and services for other financial advisors, such as asset management strategies and different products, that type of thing. So we had been doing that for about 8 years. We had we had about $225, $250 million in sales. So we were doing pretty well, but we were also doing everything. We were kind of at a point where we needed to grow. I had a couple people reach out to me, one of them being Thrivent, and I had known about Thrivent for some time, but had really never given them much consideration because I knew that they were specific to a specific. They worked within a specific group out there, and I was not a part of that group, and so I never pursued it. Well, I found out that they had changed some of the internal policies or the position that they had taken, and as a result of that, I saw it as a great opportunity. In my job as an owner, I had to cover about half the country, and that required a lot of travel. My younger kids are of the age where they're needing me, and so this presented an opportunity for me to be involved locally in the community. But then also there were some things about Thrivent which I hope to share with the audience here that intrigued me as well, as far as being a part of the community and helping people of need.
Well, if you go to as you well know, to the Thrivent website, thrivent.com, that you mentioned earlier, and you see and you get a sense of what kind of company. I mean, yes, Thrivent's a financial service company in a number of different areas, but it's a special company. What makes it special?
Well, I think the thing that makes it special is that there's a couple of things, and maybe it would help with some definitions up front. So Thrivent is a fraternal benefit organization. We've been around for about 115 years. The first 112 years, we focused on serving the Lutheran religion. Now, we are not a part of the Lutheran Church. We just were members of the Lutheran Church that formed a group to provide insurance benefits and other benefits for the Lutheran community. That changed in 2013 when we opened it up to the larger Christian market. And so I like to tell people we're one of the largest Fortune 500 companies that nobody's ever heard of, and that's because of the focus of where we were for the most of our existence. In 2013, all the members, a mutual benefit organization is basically brought together for a specific group. You've probably heard of the Rotaries or the Lions, or there's other fraternal organizations that are out there, and they are typically a tax-exempt group, which means that they get to save money on government taxes, but as a result of that, they're required to do something with that money. And so Thrivent is one of those organizations. We have about 2 million members, and hope to grow that with this change in our common bond, which means that as a group, we focus on the larger Christian market, and hope to be able to show them some of the ideas and the resources we have to help them be a part of the community. One of the biggest themes, and I think you were hinting on this on the website, is that we are very big in community involvement. Thrivent is one of the largest, if not the largest, corporate sponsor for Habitat for Humanity, and we've just renewed a 5-year contract with Habitat International to build additional houses and rebuilds in throughout the world.
It's an interesting concept, and we need to take a break right now, John. And what I'd like to do, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to explore that community aspect just a little bit more, because to me, that's a very interesting goal and mission for a company to have. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with our guest, John Martin.
Hey, this is Cindy Cochran, and now Conroe can boast of another first. The first morning live talk show, 10 to 11 a.m. Monday through Friday, right here on Lone Star Internet Radio, coming straight out of the fabulous downtown Conroe, Texas. Be the coolest guy at the water cooler, or the most informed break room dweller by listening to the fun side of the news, local, national, infinity, and beyond. The Cindy Cochran Show. You ain't heard nothing yet.
If you are looking to start a career, you can start your professional life in the U.S. Army. I am Staff Sergeant Stephen Jackson. My fellow soldiers and I can talk with you about learning high-tech skills in electronics and computers as a soldier. Interested in the medical field? The Army has skilled medical and dental jobs that set you up for future success. Come visit us at 2109 West Davis Street, directly behind the Whataburger on Highway 105, or give us a call at 936-756-7002.
Taylorized PR works exclusively to get your business noticed. Public relations is how others perceive you and your company. By tailorizing the marketing strategy exclusively to your business, your story is told. Taylorized PR services include networking, social media, blogs, press releases, public appearances, and event planning. To learn about Taylorized PR, call Margie Taylor at 936-828-6881 or visit the website at taylorizedpr.com. My business is tailored to yours.
I'm Lieutenant Bob Berry with the Conroe Police Department, reminding you that texting and talking on the phone while driving are not only dangerous, but also illegal in school zones and other posted areas. Drive safely and alert.
This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and the host of the Weekly Business Hour. And we've been having a real good conversation here today with John Martin, who works with Thrivent. To me, a very interesting company. It's in the financial service area, but a very interesting company. And John, you were kind of giving us the quick lowdown on it. And one of the things you touched on, which is to me very, very interesting, because I'm a big believer that all business should be involved in their community through nonprofit volunteerism. But in the case of Thrivent, it's built into the company.
It is. Yeah, and so because we're a tax-exempt organization, there's only so much of our revenue that we're able to give back to the members in the form of additional services or dividends or decreased premium. So as a result of that, we have to take the surplus from that and invest it back into other organizations. And typically it's been in other 501c3 organizations. So, for example, in 2015, I think our gross revenues were about $650 million. After paying out the members, which was about $300 million, we had about $220 million left over that we had to put back into the communities. So you take that, plus you take volunteer hours, and I think nationally the average per hour cost or equivalent is about $22 per hour is what they calculate volunteer hours as. So we did about 11 million hours in volunteer work last year. You combine those two, we're at about $440 million in money that's gone back into the community in the form of these churches, these nonprofits, and other people of need. Right.
And I think people, it's important they understand this is not just going back to churches or religious organizations. And you mentioned Habitat for Humanity as being one of the, and from what I understand, Thrivent's always on the lookout for good charities, good involvement that they can have. So it's not a static organization. It's not there just supporting overhead. It's aggressive in its giving and its mission. And I really appreciate that as someone who does, again, believe in nonprofit and being involved as a business person in that community.
Yeah.
One other thing is that maybe we can define a little bit more and people understand you have 2 million members. That means if I do business with Thrivent, I'm a client or customer, then I'm a member.
Yes.
And I get that. But what is the primary mission of Thrivent? I mean, what is their primary mission?
Well, our one of our themes that you'll see or hear about when you visit the website is we try to talk about the concept of living generously and what that means. And really, for us, that's sort of a 5-step process. It's taking people from surviving, which are people that feel drained. There's no hope financially. We've identified that as about 6% of the Christian population. Struggling would be the next level, which are folks that are sort of strapped. They're living from paycheck to paycheck, and they're anxious about the future. Stable, secure, and surplus. And so our goal is to work with clients. We believe everybody deserves a plan regardless of their financial situation. But our goal as advisors and financial planners is to move them up a level in that what we call the 5 S's and be able to get to a stable or secure position where they're able to contribute back to the community and help out those that are in more need.
So you take them through the cycle in a similar broad way like Dave Ramsey does through his financial piece.
Exactly. And so where Dave Ramsey teaches the typical investor the process, how to get out of debt, how to begin a savings plan, how to start investing, we will help those that want to actually take the plan and implement it and take it to the next level. There's a lot of people out there that like to do it themselves. There's just as many that don't. and we like to help those that want somebody to actually put the action plan, have some accountability in the process, and help them move forward.
Now, these people that we're talking about in general, are these the people who become members or customers of Thrivent, or is this a separate group of people?
These are well, we've got advisors in Houston. We've got about 25 advisors in the greater Houston area. Our region runs from Brenham to Lufkin to the Louisiana state line, and then all the way straight down to the coast. If you were to go straight down, we've got about 25 advisors currently in that region, and the first step would be working with these advisors to kind of identify where you are in the process. Once you become a member, then you can use some of the tools and the resources we have, such as Thrivent Action Teams, it's a $500 debit card that you get every year that you can use as seed money to create a charity event or a fundraiser, or Choice Dollars, which is something you get as a result of just having an insurance policy or an annuity policy or some product with Thrivent. And that can be up to $5,000.
So these are benefits that I get in addition to the financial services that you give.
Correct.
That's interesting.
Correct.
It's a very interesting story. What part of the financial service business do you personally work in?
Well, so in addition to being on the leadership team for a group of these advisors that I had mentioned, there's several components to the leadership group here. The other thing I'm doing right now is looking for individuals, successful individuals that maybe have given the financial service industry a thought. We have a lot of transition going on in Houston right now. I've talked to a lot of individuals in the oil and gas business right now that might be looking for something to make a change. They might be looking for something different, or they want to make a change. So I'm out trying to show people the virtue and the benefits of working with a company like Thrivent. And if our missions align and they are somebody that likes being out in the community, likes working with people, likes being involved in different projects, I think they'll find that we've got the full array of products that they can use to talk to people, but more importantly, they can do some good for the community and be involved with those people that they're talking with regards to their financial plans.
So you basically are offering, and you mentioned Houston. I mean, the job market, maybe not as much here in Montgomery County, but definitely in Harris County with a concentration of oil, which has some in Montgomery County as well. But you're providing these people with an outlet perhaps to take their just general skill set and come into the financial industry.
Yeah, like me, back early on when I shared that I had no idea that I even wanted to be in the financial industry. I think there's a lot of people that, for whatever reason, it's a mysterious industry. They've not given it a thought. But if you're a people person, or you're used to being in large groups of people, the transition is pretty easy. We are pretty confident that we can give you the skill set and the products that you would need to be able to get people through those 5 S's that we talk about and get to a point where they're living generously.
Well, you have to understand you're a little intimidating with your background. You had 30 years of financial service experience, and if I've been totally in another industry all my career, or multiple industries, and I listen to you, well, and you're saying, though, so we're clear on it, that I really don't need experience or background in the financial service industry.
You don't. Really, what we're looking for are people that are aligned with our mission. We're looking for people that are sort of entrepreneurial in spirit and background, high integrity, interpersonal skills. I will put them through a program. We have a fully paid licensing and launch program, and I work with them very closely for the first 3 years to get them to a point where they either want to go solo or work with a team of other advisors. Well,
this is very similar in my mind to a number of guests that we have that have started businesses, and a lot of times those businesses they start or franchise are in totally different areas or industries than they basically have on-the-job experience, if you will. But like you say, if you have a certain skill set, and in your case, people, person, large groups, whatever the skill set, the profile, then it works.
Yep, exactly.
Plus, in your case, you mentioned 3 years of mentoring and working with someone. Sounds like a pretty darn good program to me.
Yeah, and unlike the franchise opportunities, there's no startup cost with us. We actually sort of subsidize you getting into the field and considering it as a career.
Well, talking about, and if I'm sitting here today listening to the podcast, and I say, gosh, this may be something to check out and so on and so forth, What do you see? The financial service industry, because of what happened in 08, 09, whatever's gone through changes and whatnot. But I see when I go to your website that, for example, your mutual funds are very highly rated. Yep. Seems like a solid company. But what changes do you see from your perspective here at ground level in the financial industry going forward?
Well, some of the biggest changes, one of them is a regulatory change that's going to happen this week with regards to the Department of Labor making some rulings on how advisors work with clients and their retirement accounts, and that even goes down to their IRA accounts. So we're going to hear more about that. Basically what they're doing is they're raising the standard at which advisors have to follow to work with these clients. We're also seeing a demographic in the advisory business that is getting out. We're projecting that about 30% of the advisors that are currently in the business will be out of the business in the next 10 years. So we're looking for young and motivated people to fill those gaps that we're going to have.
I see an increasing demand myself as far as needing knowledge on the investor or client side.
Yes.
So if there are fewer, sounds like you're on a good track that you're going to try to fill in there. Well, if I'm interested in becoming part of your program, what's the best way for me to reach out and make contact?
The best way is to either call me directly, and are you going to put my contact info on the
Absolutely,
website?
You'll be part of the podcast.
Yeah, so call me or send me an email and give me about 24 hours, and I'll reach out to you, and we can have. I would suggest just having a 5 or 10 minute phone conversation, and we can decide where to go from there.
Give me a phone number that works.
936-697-0388.
And repeat that for us one more time.
936-697-0388.
And for those who just love email, what's the email address?
John.martintx, like Texas, at Thrivent, THRIVENT.com. So john.martintexas at Thrivent.com.
And I can't not mention this day, Thrivent. And John said this earlier, thrive, meaning hopefully that you thrive if you're involved either as a client or a representative of the company. Well, John, I can't thank you enough for taking time to come and teach us a little bit about fraternal organizations. You and I chatted prior to the show about how they kind of faded away, at least in the younger generations not familiar. They used to be a big part of the American fabric and in different parts of the world as well, where you support each other and help each other, and then there's give back. And you've got a very interesting, I feel a very challenging, exciting model that I encourage my listeners, if you're interested either in financial services or you're interested in a new job opportunity, a new career, that you take a look at the website at Thrivent.com, because it's very interesting, very eye-opening. And again, I thank you and I thank Thrivent for being part of our show today.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break now at the bottom of the hour. We come back, we'll have a little bit of news I hope you can use and a couple thoughts that I hope that you can put to work for you in your business today. So please stay with us.
Are you interested in learning more about preparing quick, healthy, and safe meals for your family? Would you like to spend time with others learning tips and tricks, along with practicing and tasting nutritious food? If so, the On the Road to Healthy Living Mobile Cooking School is for you. Call Amy Ressler at Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service at 936-539-7825 to find a class near you or volunteer to host a class.
Are you planning on growing, expanding, or possibly selling your business? All of these business opportunities require developing strategies and setting goals in order to achieve success. Providing specialized consulting in these and other key business decisions is what Silver Fox Advisors have been doing since 1986. Let us help you today. Call us at 713-343-3718. It might be the most profitable call that you ever make.
Tune in every Sunday night right here on Lone Star Internet Radio for adventure, romance, thrills, chills, and everything vintage radio drama can bring. The Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour comes to you every Sunday at 7 p.m. with brand new episodes monthly. Our productions always feature actors, music, and sound effects performed completely live. And now you can enjoy seeing each new episode performed on stage at the Owen Theater in Conroe. Check out www.irlonestar.com for information about upcoming episodes. Relive the glory days of vintage radio drama right here with the Players Theater Company Old Time Radio Hour on Lone Star Internet Radio.
Running a business is hard. Pressure to maximize profits and minimize loss continue to grow. Schooley Mitchell of Houston can help. Their independent consultants will ensure you are receiving the best communications and credit card processing services at the best prices. Most importantly, their services are completely risk-free. If they don't find savings for you, there is no fee. Contact Schooley Mitchell of Houston today to find out. Call 832-314-1815 or visit their website at schooleymitchell.com/JM
At Jazzy Junk, volunteers reclaim, restore, and recycle. Jazzy Junk is a non-profit resale storefront where you will discover wonderful, unique finds at very affordable prices on furniture, antiques, books, art, home decor, and more. When you shop Jazzy Junk, you support New Danville, a community for adults with developmental disabilities. We receive new donations daily, so plan a visit to Jazzy Junk today to find that perfect item or gift. Our motto is here today, gone today. So remember to hurry in and shop often for the best selection. Jazzy Junk is located in the outlets at Conroe on League Line Road and I-45 North. Call 936-441-4500 or visit our website, jazzyjunk.org. That's JUNQUE for more information and store hours.
You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor. Well, it's time to talk about some news I hope you can use. And what I'm going to do today is something they call reading the news to you. I'm not going to read it word to word for word, just like those old teachers used to do in school. Some of them did, where they'd read the lesson to you, and you couldn't be more bored than I can't imagine being more bored. But the quarterly newsletter, first one came out from the Conroe Economic Development Council, and there's a lot of good business news in here. So I'm going to kind of use that as my news piece today to make sure you're informed of some of the things that are going around. Congratulations first to the Conroe Economic Development Council. I think they did a great job in this first newsletter. Got a little bit of good information in here for all of us. First of all, and I mentioned this on the show, but I want to mention this if you're an employer out there, it's important to know that there's a job fair that takes place that the Economic Development Council here in Conroe, in conjunction with the Conroe Chamber, put on. It happened to be back in January. I was fortunate enough to be there. I worked with the Chamber as a volunteer, and there were over 600 people who showed up that day looking for job opportunities. Some needed work, some were looking for a better opportunity. But these kind of efforts are going on in our community. It was out at the Lone Star Convention Center back in January. You need to be aware of that. There are opportunities for you as an employer and an employee, if you're looking for something, to find a job. And I encourage you, whether you're looking for someone or you're looking for something, that you check the area out for these job fairs that take place, and they're done on a regular basis. The next item in the news from the Economic Development Council newsletter was Lone Star College. Many of us may, and I'll raise my hand to this one, forgot back in November of 2014 that Lone Star College received approval from the voters for $485 million worth of bonds throughout their system, and they've now issued $150 million of that to get things going. So there's a lot of neat things getting ready to happen on the various campuses of Lone Star, an expansion of services, and you heard our studio guest John Martin talk about how important community college was in his own life and in the life of his son in different ways, and that's what community college does. It changes lives, and it's here in our community. It's here for the employers looking for people with certain skill sets, and most importantly, it's here for those of us looking to gain skills and to gain training. The next article was LUC Urethanes. This is one of many companies that have located out in the Conroe Business Park. This is their first United States facility to locate, and it was located right here in Conroe. A 20,000 square foot facility was opened on November 20th of last year. So these kinds of projects are coming in, And the business park out there around the airport is an important place for a whole different industrial type business that's taking place. And finally, I want to mention the article, Conroe is the news for all the right reasons, is in the news, and that's the growth of our area. I suspect it's slowing down a little bit. Things are slowing down across the United States in most places. But the fact is, from 2013 to 2014, the population of Conroe itself grew by 5.2%. That made us the sixth fastest growing city with populations over 50,000. This area is growing. The opportunities are here. And every once in a while, though, it's good to hear that verification through numbers and statistics. And finally, the news item so that you learn who the Greater Conroe Economic Development Council is. They were recently reaccredited by the International Economic Development Council as one of 44 development organizations that are accredited by this organization, meaning they do a good job in this area. And I think it's important, regardless of the size of your business, to kind of tap into some of this information from time to time. One, if you need to verify that things are going well in your community, that business is good. I mean, you know what's coming in through your cash register or what's being sold out your back door, but sometimes it's good to know what's going on in the community. Secondly, if you want to grow your business, you want multiple locations, or you just want to grow, you want to add on to meet what you perceive as the demand in the area, then that's a good place to get information. And there are people there that will help you and help you expand your business, particularly if you're looking for a location to build a facility, say in the industrial parks or whatnot. These people have lots and lots of information. So I encourage you, check it out, and check out the Greater Conroe Economic Development Council. Good folks, check out their website as well. Well, that's our news for today. And I want to try to give you a couple business tips in the time remaining in this segment that I hope you can use. And one of them is about networking. We talk about that from time to time on the show. Networking, building of relationships. To me, the keystone of building any business, relationships with customers, clients, relationships with vendors, relationships with just referral sources. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, where I met someone that knew someone that could help one of my clients. Those kind of connections are being made every day. And I will tell you, in my experience, the most successful businesses and business people out there are the ones that build the best relationships. The article I came across was written by William van der Bloemen in March of this year, March 27th, published online in Fortune, and it was entitled 5 Sure Ways to Bomb Your Next Networking Event. What I'm going to be giving you is things not to do. And just quickly, I'm going to go through this list because occasionally, again, I stub my toe. And you've got to be careful not to do certain things that turn people off. And people are smiling, they're nodding, but they're not listening. First of all, remember that when you're networking for your business, it's business, not dating. You're not trying to date somebody. You don't have to overly impress them. What you need to do is realize that you're trying to seek out the kind of business relationships that you can help someone and they in turn can help you. You've got to make the right connections. So you've got to work at networking as one of your objectives is to be effective and be sure you don't bomb out. First of all, don't be overly aggressive. Don't talk too much. Boy, does that apply to me. Don't be overly aggressive. In other words, go into the event and don't be a wallflower, but have conversations. And when you go to an event and there's 100 people there, expect to walk out with maybe just 2 or 3 relationships that have started. You don't walk out with a pocket full of cards. You walk out with 2 or 3 people you met that seem interesting and seem like their business may be a fit with yours and that there may be a chance to connect with them and some way, somehow help each other to build your respective businesses. Don't brag. Don't tell everybody about your accomplishments, your business's accomplishment. Don't talk about yourself too much. The other thing is be as humble. Show your humility. Be as humble as you can. Talk in a way that makes people want to learn more about you. Don't drive them off by being a braggart, as I mentioned earlier, but be humble because people really appreciate that. Be sure that you arrive at the event with business cards. I can't tell you how many times, in fact, I can. Last week, I was in 3 different business situations where people didn't have cards to give me, and I asked for their card. I was interested in following up with them for either a personal business relationship or just general business. But I wanted a card, and I was stunned that people forget to bring enough cards or don't carry enough cards to hand out to other people. And the last thing is, don't play hard to get. Don't be coy. It's not a game. You're just trying to meet people and trying to figure out if there's something there for each of you. So play the networking challenge. Go out there and do it. Don't be afraid to do it. Every business, even if you have a sole proprietorship, you've got to network with your customers, your vendors. And then as you grow, you have employees, but you need to go out and make sure you're part of that community and what's going on out there. The last thing I would like to talk with the time remaining is something that was kind of interesting that showed up in the Wall Street Journal. When I say interesting, was its impact on us, any business, on a local basis. And that is, why is the price of natural gas so important to your business? And this article talked about natural gas as a commodity. And I didn't realize this, but natural gas has seasons. And I knew that in wintertime, typically as a country, it's colder in the north, it's colder here, we use more gas. But they basically have a withdrawal season, and that's when they're withdrawing from their inventories. And then when they get down, they fill their inventories up, their storage, and that's called the injection season, okay? And these seasons are very important because if we stop and think about it, natural gas needs to be withdrawn or pumped from the ground every day, 24/7, 365 days a year. But when demand gets out of whack and these seasons are overlapped, for an example, the opening week for natural gas producers is coming up, just like baseball. Opening day in baseball, the Houston Astros are playing today. The withdrawal season, these are seasons that sometimes, because of the lack of demand like we had this past winter, it wasn't as cold, that the inventory has already built up in the system, and they're projecting perhaps come August, maybe July, that the system will be completely full, and therefore there will be no room to pump or deliver more gas in the system. You have a choice. Either shut the well down. There's an expense and cost associated with that, plus you're not earning any money. And secondly, you could sell it for a little bit of nothing in the market just to get rid of it because the system, the storage system, is full. Well, think about your own business in light of what's happening in natural gas. I mean, in the case of gas, it's withdrawing, it's a commodity, but in your business sometimes, if you sell from inventory, if you take orders, there has to be a balance in it. And it's very important, and either you need to have a system or a process. It can be manual. Many systems today are computerized, and you've got to make sure that your process, that your supply line of whatever you're providing, whether it's service technicians to fix things, that they are busy, that it stays full. Otherwise, you're actually facing what they're facing in the natural gas industry, is you've got too many people to work, so you've got to cut back. Or you've got too much product on the shelf, and you can't pay your bills because you can't turn that product into money. Think about that. You've got a process and a system that's not a whole lot different than the natural gas system in this country. Don't have too much on hand, and then again, don't have too little. Well, that's our news I hope you can use today. We're going to take a short break, ladies and gentlemen, and when we come back, I'm going to give you my Silver Fox thought for the week. So please stay with us, and remember, if you need to contact me, reach out to Rick at irlonestar.com, and if you enjoy the show, the Weekly Business Hour on Facebook.
Did you know there are more than 790 abused and neglected children currently in foster care in Montgomery County? Will you help make a difference? I'm Allie Stevens with Casa Child Advocates of Montgomery County. We train and support volunteers to be the voice of children in the foster care system. Kids are removed from their home because of abuse and neglect, and we need volunteers just like you to advocate for these children. To learn more about becoming an advocate, please visit CasaSpeaksForKids.com. That's CasaSpeaksForKids.com.
Are you paying too much for your personal or business insurance? Patricia Cooper Insurance on FM 1488 and Tamina Road is an independent agency that can shop multiple carriers to find the best rates and coverages to fit your specific needs. Call us today at 281-356-9955 and let us go to work for you. Patricia Cooper Insurance, where our customers are treated like family.
I'm Lieutenant Bob Berry with the Conroe Police Department, reminding you that drinking and driving do not mix. Drinking and driving causes an alcohol-related fatality every hour in the United States. Stay sober and stay alive.
Lone Star Internet Radio is now bringing you the weekly business hour show each Monday morning at 11 a.m. My name is Rick Schissler, and I will be your host. Each week we will be bringing you local, area, and national business news that you can use. The program will also feature an interview with a local or national business person who will share their own experiences, successes, and failures in operating their businesses. Our show is for anyone who already owns a business, whether they work solo or have employees, and for those who are thinking about starting their own businesses. A bit of information about myself. Again, my name is Rick Schissler, and I am a Silver Fox advisor who has over 40 years' experience as a serial entrepreneur. As a part of our show, I will offer some advice and encouragement on our monthly topic, and I will take your questions by email at rschissler@silverfox.org or call into the station at 936-647-3776. See you on the radio Monday at 11 a.m. for the weekly business hour. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor, and you are listening to the weekly business hour. And we're at our fourth segment, last segment for the day. Hope you've enjoyed the show, and don't forget that if you miss part of the show, that it is recorded and kept as a podcast for 2 years. Just go to our website at irlonestar.com, look up the weekly business hour, and you can find all our shows for the past 2 years. So it's available. If you missed any of the interview with John Martin of Thrivent, I encourage you to go listen to the podcast and catch up. Well, the Silver Fox thought for the week. Do people really know what you sell or what services you offer? Now, that may sound like a dumb question to many of you, but many times I believe, in fact, probably most of the time, we as business owners miss the opportunity to tell people about what we do, about what service or product we provide. There are lots of opportunities right at hand, and I'm not talking about spending money necessarily, but we don't cover, as they would say, the waterfront. We don't communicate often enough. Or is something I like to go back to. There was a book years ago, In Search of Excellence. It was a book that really kind of changed some things I was doing. There were a lot of videos and lectures that you could follow that the authors put on. And one of the things they talked about were touch points. You know, in a daily business day or week or month, we have, as business owners, opportunities to touch our customers, to touch prospective customers. And the question is, do we miss some of the obvious opportunities to communicate who we are to prospective customers and to our existing customers? And what is the impact or lack of impact every time we touch someone? Do we need to change our message? You know, the main thing we're looking for is an appealing, positive, consistent message across touch points. In other words, coordinated. Don't shoot from the hip. Sit down and try to connect these things. Try to connect. In other words, when I walk in, and this happened to me personally last week, I went and met somebody for lunch, walked in the restaurant, and I'm going to tell you, and I walked out, and I guarantee you I felt welcome. From the first moment the hostess greeted us with that smile and a pleasant voice and how much they appreciated us being there. We walked out, we got the same message, but the service we received from the waitstaff, the quality of the product, I want to do business with those people. And that's the whole point. Make sure people know who you are, where you are, what you sell, products, services, and make sure they want to do business with you. Let's start with knowing, though. Let's kind of drill down on that for just a moment. Drill down to making sure they know who you are, what your business is, and what you have to offer. Well, the first place these days is pretty obvious. It's the website. Everybody needs some kind of website, whether it's for information or selling. And people miss this. And I'll give you a great example. I was looking for a product the other day, and it was a pretty large ticket item. And there were lots of people out there that you could go on the web and kind of do some research, see who was in your area, learn, get educated. I was looking for all these things. And I came to a particular website, and I had met an individual who worked for that company, and they were very friendly, and it was one of the reasons I went to that particular site. But when I got to the site, the information on the site was good information, but it was like a fourth or fifth generation ago website. And there was a picture, and I wanted to enlarge it so I could really see to understand what they had to offer, and you click on it, and nothing happened. They hadn't caught on to understanding how important, and in that particular industry, my best guess is real important. So you need to monitor your website. You need to keep it up to date. Again, it depends on the industry. To me, what's important, if the website is just purely informational, it doesn't have to have that many pages per se. But again, the more information, quality information, not just text, but pictures, videos, audios that you have, this communicates so that when people touch your website, they understand who you are, what you're selling, and what you have to offer them. Advertising, that's been around forever, right? You need to make sure that your advertising, if you do any advertising, whether it's through a school or through a newspaper or television, radio, whatever, that it matches up with who you are. Marketing materials, the same thing. The materials, the cards, the things you pass out in your store, they need to be one and the same and blend with everything else. Networking, we just talked about networking in the last segment. It's important that you network with people through your church, through your children's school, through any public organization that you're part of, as well as private networking groups. Importantly, your Chamber of Commerce. Take the opportunities that are right in front of you. Many of them don't cost anything but your time and a pocket full of hopefully business cards, and go and meet people. Learn who they are. Learn how you can help them. Referrals. That is so important to build people up. And it doesn't matter what business you're in. It really doesn't matter. Referral business is an important source of business, and to me it's one of the best, if not the single best source of business for anybody, is referrals. So it's important that you work your referral sources. Don't just expect them to happen with no effort on your part, because they do work. People who know and love you, people who like your business and appreciate what you do, they're going to refer people to you. I do it all the time for businesses that I respect and want to do business with. So work your referrals. Try to get some of those, what they call them, the marketing raving fans on board. You'll be surprised with just what a handful of people that really like you can change and make your business that much better. And then finally, content. What's your message? Make sure that that message, again, is carried through your website, your marketing materials, any advertising, any discussions you have with someone. Be sure you know what the keywords that are important about your business. Every business is different. It's like a fingerprint. We're all unique. We're all different. We all have different objectives. So be sure you take time to explain who, what, when, and where your business is all about. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for taking time this week to listen to the program. And as we close the show today, I want to give a big Lone Star thanks to our sponsors, Patricia Cooper Insurance Company, Schooley Mitchell, Taylor Eyes PR, and the Silver Fox Advisors. I encourage you to stay engaged this week and keep your focus on what counts in your business. Please put a note on your calendar to join us again next week, right here on irlonestar.com, Monday mornings at 11 a.m. We'll see you next week.